Ugh. You got some crazy hair sticking out here. There you go. Do. All right, we got one person on. What's up, one person? You one of the regulars? What's up, KX? How's it going? How's it going? Live stream number 8 already. What's up, Joey? General Joey, you are a bold one. What's up? The Mr. Pete channel needs 700 subs. How's it going? Oh, man. Cursed Kitchen, what's up? Welcome back. All right. So how did you guys like the video I did on Friday? Seemed to kind of actually blow up. Got a little more views than I usually get, so, and a lot more comments. That was interesting. Good, how are you? My Grievous and Padme comic came in today. Got all Age of Republic comics now. Oh, man. The pressure is on. I got to read. I got to finish Thrawn Alliances, but this is like my last month of school, so we're in like major crunch time right now, so I haven't had time to read it. I'm like 75% done. So I'm going to read that, and then I'm going to read Queen's Shadow, and then Master and Apprentice. That's my order. So, and then maybe I'll sprinkle the Age of Republic comics in there. Awesome, they made a video based on our last combo. Yeah, and that's a part of the reason why I do the live streams is because sometimes I get video ideas by stuff that you guys bring up or topics that we end up talking about. So I actually was like, I should do a video on some of the changes that I would have liked to see in the Clone Wars. So if any of you guys didn't comment, what changes would you guys like to see? Figured we could continue the discussion if you guys wanted to, or like if you had any changes to any of the other Star Wars movies too, throw those out there. So I really enjoyed talking about it because everyone's kind of got a different perspective. This is like one hair, it's like sticking up. But yeah, there's like 25 comments on this video now. It's like crazy. I haven't gone through them all yet. Oh, what's up, Batsy? Sorry. One thing people complain about the prequels is there is no tension in the fights, knowing the characters will survive into the original trilogy. Anakin versus Obi-Wan, Yoda versus Sidious. Personally, I think they're full of Sith. Did you mean full of SHIT? Because that's funny though. That's a funny autocorrect. I mean, like I would agree in a sense, like what the outcome of the battle is going to be, of course, but I think more or less it was like that, or you don't know like how the outcome is going to come to fruition. I mean, especially in the case of Anakin and Obi-Wan, because obviously we know that they both somehow survived the battle. But the question was, how did Vader get the suit? That was like always the big like question. So I think it was more or less showing us how Anakin literally became transformed into Darth Vader, or like aesthetically with the armor and stuff like that. So if I could change one thing about the movies, I would add in the founding of the rebellion in 3. Yes, Cursed Kitchen. That's like the deleted scene that if I had to go back through like all the movies and all the deleted scenes, that one would definitely be like, if I could only implement one back in the movies, that would definitely be the one. So I think they need to put more emphasis on how Padme was kind of like the initial spark of the rebellion, because especially with the end of the movie, or at the end of Revenge of the Sith, because she says that they're still they're trying to say they're still good in Anakin, and so like she's kind of like the hope, and then Anakin's like the dark and stuff like that. So I think like it would really bolster Padme's role in the saga as a whole. I think I left a comment on your Facebook link to the video. I'd remove Ahsoka, replace Matt Lanter with Matt Lucas, replace Baker with Morrison, give Gunray Windu and Aura Singh more screen time. Yes, KX. Yeah. I mean, Matt Lanter's voice isn't that bad, but it's kind of the same thing for me, like with Bradley D. Baker's voice for the clones and Tamara Morrison. It's like I'm used to Hayden. Like Hayden is the baseline for Anakin for anything, whether it's like the looks or whether it's his voice. So it's kind of hard to I guess get comfortable with someone else doing his voice. I think Matt Lanter does an okay job. I mean, it could be better, but same with Bradley D. Baker's voice. It's a little bit more it's less serious. I mean, that's just the way I view it. Like Bradley D. Baker's voice and Matt Lanter's voice are just kind of less serious versions of their live action counterparts in a sense. So, question mark. We all know what the outcome of 9 will be. Rey lives and Kylo dies. Don't know. We'll have to find out. I feel like that's what they expect us, or that's what they expect us to think is going to happen. And I don't think that they're actually going to give us what we expect, because we know that, especially from The Last Jedi, they don't give us what we expect to get. So, and that can be a good thing. Same Cursed Kitchen. I would also have Yoda landing on Dagobah. Yeah, that's a good one too, because I mean, all we hear at the end of Revenge of the Sith is Yoda's, gonna, go into exile essentially, or hiding. And that, they're gonna wait until essentially A New Hope comes around. So I would add back in all the deleted scenes in Attack of the Clones. They are all fantastic. I haven't watched the Attack of the Clones deleted scenes in a long time, so I need to go through those again and remind myself what those scenes are. I know there's like a couple ones that weren't finished, because I remember seeing some where they didn't finish the special effects, and so they looked a little. They didn't look good. So, but of course that's why they're deleted scenes. I guess they didn't finish them. So, any of y'all have any changes to the Clone Wars besides KX? I would add back Anakin fighting Greedo in the Phantom Menace. Yeah, that would be cool too. I mean, to kind of like bring about like continuity in a sense, but I mean, I think in terms of the story, it wouldn't really do too much. But in terms of like, oh cool, look, it's Greedo as a kid. He was still kind of a butt, type of thing. Just kind of a cool little reference. I put more emphasis on other Jedi. Are you talking about in the Clone Wars, KX, or are you talking about in the movies? KX, and it is so epic. Why have I not seen this? I need to watch this. I think after this live stream, I'm going to have to go to put in my copy of Attack of the Clones and watch the deleted scenes. I need to get caught up on all that. Are there any other changes you guys would want to see, like besides adding deleted scenes back into the movies? I wouldn't have Anakin have an apprentice. Instead, he would have him and Snips be on a team. Yeah, I thought it was, I don't know. I was always under the impression long ago that only Jedi Masters could take on apprentices, but apparently Jedi Knights can take on apprentices. So it kind of bothered me that, like, I was one of those people who didn't like Ahsoka at the beginning, although I think that was like most people. But eventually, I don't know. I just kind of warmed up to the character. So it's kind of just like she's been around now for so long. I, get just used to it. The Mooney scene can only be seen in the 2011 Blu-ray release of the Star Wars saga. I think that's the one I have. I mean, I don't know if like did they include that in like some of the later ones, like later releases, or if it's just like the 2011 release. The version of the Blu-rays that I have is the trilogy box set. I have the prequel trilogy and original trilogy box sets. I think those were like the first version to come out. And then they had those like collectible steelbook versions that came out like 2 or 3 years ago, and those are pretty cool. I'd love to get those just for aesthetic purposes. Yeah, also a knight having an apprentice makes no sense. Yeah, I mean, like that was my thought, because like I said, at first I thought it was just Jedi Masters. Like you had to be a master. You couldn't be a Jedi Knight or whatever. But apparently you can be a Jedi Knight and have an apprentice, which I found out like years later. So I was like, okay, so it makes sense that Anakin could have an apprentice, but I mean, especially because I know we were talking about how much time there was between Attack of the Clones and the Clone Wars. That was like 3 or 4 months, especially with like Anakin maturing that quickly. I don't know why the council would be like here's an apprentice for you to go and teach, even though you're kind of already unstable as on your own. I mean, maybe it was kind of for a sense of stability, or kind of like at least like, I don't know. I don't even know if like a lot of like schools do this anymore, but like in the US, like sometimes schools like give out or there's like a class where you like take care of a fake baby. It's like, it was like all over the movies and stuff like that, like 15 years ago. I don't even know if that's a thing anymore. We never did it, but kind of like that in a sense, where he's like, he has to take care of something, and so he has to learn to be responsible, type of thing. I don't know. The 2011 set has Luke and Anakin on the cover facing away from each other on Tatooine. Yeah, so that's okay. So then that's the one I have. It's just that it's not in the like, we didn't get the like the full box set with all 6 movies. We got the original trilogy box set and then the prequel trilogy box set. The prequel trilogy box set has the cover with Yoda on it, and then the original trilogy one has Vader on it. Obi-Wan was a knight when he trained Anakin. Yeah, Joey, and that's the other thing I realized too, is that like when Yoda said that Obi-Wan would take over Anakin's training, I realized that he actually still was a Jedi Knight. So I don't know if they because there's a pretty significant time jump. It's like 10 years between The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. I don't know if they ever, at least canonically, covered Obi-Wan's ascension to the rank of master. So I have read the Obi-Wan and Anakin comic, and that doesn't take place too far or too long after the Phantom Menace. I think it's like a couple years, less than 5, I think. And I believe he's a Jedi Master in that. It's been a while since I've read it, though. Yes, they also forced her on Anakin. I thought Masters chose their apprentices. Yeah, that's a good point. The Mr. Pete channel needs 700 subs. Because like definitely in the Phantom Menace, we kind of get this idea that like the master would choose the apprentice, because like, or Qui-Gon was like, I will take Anakin as my Padawan learner, blah blah blah, and the council's like, no, we will not be trained, whatever. And then it's kind of Qui-Gon's dying wish to have Anakin trained, so then Obi-Wan takes up the mantle or whatever at the request of the council. Not at the request of the council. I mean, Obi-Wan requests the council to have him, fulfill Qui-Gon's dying wish and have Anakin become his apprentice. So kind of having Anakin be like pushed into a leadership role is kind of odd. So, but I mean, it seemed like he did fine, I guess. Like the thing again to me is the maturity. So like how did he mature in just 4 months that quickly? So wait, didn't they give Obi the rank of master for killing Maul? I mean, possibly. I don't think that like they ever stated it in the Phantom Menace that like Obi-Wan is a Jedi Master. I mean, maybe it was just like an immediate thing right after. I don't know. I think maybe it was assumed because Qui-Gon was killed also. So how much blame should the Jedi get for what happened in the prequels? That's a good question, Joey. So if the whole point of the prequels was to show that evil is obviously bad, but also the good side was also bad. I think the Jedi should take a lot of the blame for what happened in the prequel trilogy because of their ignorance, in a sense, and they kind of caved in on their values and they were forced into the Clone Wars. Of course, a lot of this was orchestrated by Sidious, because Sidious obviously incited the whole thing in the first place and then forced the Jedi's hand in terms of getting involved. But I think a lot of it has to do with their values and getting involved in things that they really shouldn't have been doing. Plus, and then the major thing was the suppression of emotion, which I think was a main theme in the prequel trilogy for the Jedi, was that showing that you can't have emotion, you can't be a normal, living person, or they're not all humans, but person or whatever, alien but person, whatever, same thing. but in a sense, like you can't have feelings. You can't, you have to be stoic all the time. You can't react to things. Obviously that's good in some situations, but you can't just like completely bury your feelings and just pretend they're not there. That's not the way that life works. So he had to grow up quickly, I guess. And I mean, that's the way I rationalize it in my head is, the war. I mean, the war was very hot at that point, and it's 4 months in, so he's probably been through a couple of battles. I won't even say a couple, probably a lot of battles at that point, up to that point. And so, I mean, things, war will change you. I mean, I've never been to war, but, pretty much it seems like if you ever do go to war, it's going to be a pretty big, shift for your personality. So, not surprised that he did actually mature. So, I just wish it was more gradual, like compared to when we start Revenge of the Sith, because you end Attack of the Clones, and Anakin, of course, is some, hot-headed teenager with, with rebellious issues or whatever, and finds secret love or whatever, and then in Revenge of the Sith, he's like best buds with Obi-Wan, fighting droids together and stuff like that. So I just wish it was like a more gradual thing that they did. I mean, it's kind of like how they did it with Anakin, and his dark side tendencies. Because like you watch the Clone Wars, and the beginning he doesn't do too much dark side stuff, but like when you get to like season 5 and stuff like that, he starts like force choking people and doing things, like he did with Barriss Offee. I mean, like you start to see some of his dark side tendencies are coming through. So I wish it was just a little more gradual in that sense, just like his fall to the dark side. Also, late response, but the reason why I have my issue with Matt Lanter is because when he auditioned for Anakin, he was actually auditioning for a character named Deke Darklighter. Lucas wanted to hire someone who would act against the traditional Anakin. They wanted to hire someone on who thought they would be portraying a different character, because Lucas wanted to fix Anakin after the backlash. So it was like a surprising twist. From the very beginning, Matt was told to act against Hayden, while the 2003 Matt Lucas Anakin worked with Hayden. Yeah, and that's actually, that's a good point to bring up Matt Lucas in the 2003 Clone Wars 2D animated series, because he was I think honestly that version of the Clone Wars did a better job of showing Anakin's maturity grow. And I guess that would make sense, seeing as what George Lucas wanted to do with Anakin, and then seeing that in the Clone Wars that, Anakin's, much more of a level-headed person. So, I mean, that makes sense to me. So, but I mean, again, I would say blame the people who complained about it, obviously. I mean, we're here kind of complaining about it, but, really at the end of the day, it's a systemic issue of, people internet bandwagoning on the prequels, or hating on the prequels for just really nitpicky things. Fans were butthurt because Anakin wasn't who they thought he was, according to Obi-Wan in A New Hope. That's a really good point, Joey. I mean, that's the thing, is like everyone has this perception, or like in the Star Wars community, we get this perception of what a character should be and what their, actions should be. And then if they ever deviate from that, then people have like just throw a riot about it. Like it's, like it's the end of the world. George Lucas destroyed my childhood. We get that crap coming up all the time. I mean, just people need to chill out. It's like, and like, you should never go into a movie expecting something and then getting exactly what you expected, because then there's no surprise for you. You want to be surprised when you walk out of the movie, be like, oh, that was a different movie than what I anticipated. Or, don't even anticipate anything at all and just, go and have a good time. That's the best way to do it. Obi-Wan was looking at the Clone Wars with rose-colored glasses. Curse Kitchen, honestly, I might disagree with you on that. I think it was more of just like he wanted to withhold some information, but like, I mean, he didn't make it sound like it was a glorious time. He made it sound as if like, well, I guess he did, because he said before the dark times, before the Empire. So I guess you are right actually on that one. So I mean, I don't know. He wasn't like playing it up like, oh, it was a great time. We were just hanging around, kicking droid butt and, doing all these other things, but I mean, he didn't make it sound like it was, worse than what was going on in A New Hope. It was a crime we never saw young red leader in the Clone Wars. Young red leader. I don't know who the young red leader is. Yeah, sorry for the long text. Haha. No worries, KX. You're good. But that info can be seen in the behind-the-scenes footage of the Clone Wars. Fans wanted Anakin, a slave child forced to hide his emotions, to act like a womanizing Han Solo smuggler. Oh, KX, we are on the same page. We are on the same page. I mean, people don't understand, again, the fact that, if you were a slave for 9 years of your life and then you get, whipped away from everything you've known to go to some, city planet where there's a bunch of people, a bunch of different aliens, whatever, and you're thrown into this monastic society where you're told that you can't have any feelings and you can't do anything about it, and then it's like, how is he supposed to, deal with those emotions in a constructive way? And again, going back to the question about the fault of the Jedi, that was their biggest issue, is because, especially, suppressing emotion, you don't, if you from a young age, if you learn to just suppress emotion, you don't tend to deal with that constructively. And I think we see that with like a lot of people who have, some like mental illness related things in dealing with emotions psychologically. He was trying to make Luke become a Jedi. Yeah, I mean, that's Curse Kitchen. That's obviously the point. The whole point was he was trying to persuade Luke that, hey, we got this cool thing going here called the Jedi, but they're pretty much gone and we need you to come. Obviously, he didn't say that so explicitly, but you could definitely tell he was like, nudge, nudge, nudge. So that's another thing. They didn't want to see Darth Vader as a little kid. Yeah, I mean, I think they did. I think they did a much better job, though, in terms of transitioning Anakin to a dark side, or having dark side tendencies. So I think, and with Anakin's mother being the perfect on ramp or whatever into that line of character development, I think that was the best way to go about it, and the killing of the Tusken Raiders. So with the Rebel Squad leaders. I don't remember the guy's name, though. Red Leader died during the trench run, he told Luke. F-O. That's true, Joey. Lucas even said if he wasn't making the movie himself, they would have stopped him from making Anakin 9 years old, but Lucas stated it was his movie and his universe. KX, again, it's another really good point. And people need to understand and acknowledge that, these are George Lucas's movies. They're not, ours to, to say what happens. Obviously, we have our hopes and aspirations, but we really shouldn't cling to those so tightly that, if we don't get that itch scratched, that we're, blaming the movie, blaming the director, blaming the actors. He told Luke he flew with Anakin. Where did he tell him that? Was that like in a deleted scene of A New Hope, or was that somewhere else? Some have said Anakin was bipolar. Well, I mean, obviously he, lashed out quite a bit. We saw that with the killing of the Tusken Raiders, but that goes back again to what I was talking about, dealing with emotions in a constructive manner. Anakin was doing quite the opposite, because, I mean, it's like a boiling, kettle, right? I mean, eventually, if you just let it sit, it's going to boil over, and then it's going to, leak out the water or whatever. I mean, it's not going to explode, but unless you get the pressure up too high or whatever, that's another story. But the point is that he had all this pent up emotion and anger, and then he didn't know how to deal with it. So what did he do? He just went full on rage mode and obviously killed an entire tribe of Tusken Raiders, and then was still angry afterward. So, and that's like I said, the main fault of the Jedi was suppressing emotion and not teaching their members how to constructively deal with emotions. They were just basically saying, your emotions are useless, sweep them under the rug. Don't even, just ignore them, blah, blah, blah. Don't even think about them, just leave them. And that's the wrong way to go about it. So I think I might have asked this, but I don't know if are any of you going to Star Wars Celebration by chance? I am not. I thought about it, but it's a little expensive. So, but Hayden Christensen is going to be there, so that's pretty cool. I'll probably live stream a bunch of the panels and stuff. I think some want Star Wars fans to be dark, serious drama. Yes, Joey. I know it's like there's some people who think like they won't that Star Wars needs like an R-rated action movie. It doesn't need an R-rated action movie. I mean, the thing I always remember from the last Star Wars Celebration, speaking of which, when they had George Lucas on for the 40th anniversary panel, was George said Star Wars is for the kids. I mean, that's the target audience. It doesn't mean again that we can't enjoy it as adults because a lot of us grew up with Star Wars, and so it's important to us as well. But I don't want it to be some like super dark, just like I don't even know, like what's like Saving Private Ryan type of movie, where it's just like really violent and that's not what Star Wars is not about violence and action. And if you think Star Wars is about violence and action, you need to go find yourself another movie series to watch, because Star Wars is about family, number one, and it's about a really messed up family, and it's about love and connections and good and evil, typical story things, right? Okay. Well, yeah. We can probably talk about. I know a lot of you guys are saying no, you're not going to Celebration, but if any of you guys watch any of the panels, maybe we can talk about it on the live stream after Celebration. You're spot on. Fans complain about the Jedi, but their flaws were written on purpose. He wanted to show a larger public could be taken over and based a lot of the politics off Caesar and Hitler. This is why I love the prequels, because there's no if you ask somebody, who were the good guys in the prequels, you would say, or they would say, the Jedi, right? It's the Republic, it's democracy, it's all this great stuff, but then if you think about it at a deeper level, you see the systematic issues. And Sidious was evil. He definitely was not a good person. But he basically saw the weaknesses that were already there and just exploited them. And obviously manipulated both the Jedi and the Separatists into essentially war. And if you think about it too, because the Trade Federation, all of those, the Commerce Guild, Techno Union, they were all part of the Republic. Back in the Phantom Menace, they were just very disgruntled tradesmen essentially, and there was already issues going on, and Sidious was, you just approach the Trade Federation guys like, hey, you guys do this, you should block Naboo, this trade route on Naboo, and maybe you can get some more power, or power in the Senate. Maybe they'll hear out your position or whatever, force them to, hear your position. So I mean, he basically just kind of essentially the Republic had already had cracks in it, but Sidious basically was the wedge who just saw he saw the crack and then just wedged it right in there and split it even further until, of course, it completely split apart. So, and then that's where we had the Clone Wars. Do you think Luke's canon Jedi was basically the same as the old Jedi, emotionless, loveless? Honestly, no. And I mean, I don't know too much about some of the comics and other books like Heir to the Jedi that happened right after A New Hope. But especially in Return, and this is why I like Return of the Jedi, because Obi-Wan and Anakin, or Obi-Wan and Yoda, their ghosts, are kind of you can't save Vader. He's done. You have to kill him. That's the only way you can solve this problem. But Luke was no, I can save him. We can still save him. There is still good in him. And so I think that's where Luke overcomes the issues of the Jedi from the Old Republic. Was when he made that decision, in a sense that no, Vader can be redeemed. We can't solve everything by killing our enemies, and he didn't suppress his emotions. That's, I mean, that, you know, if he suppressed his emotions, he would have just gone and killed Vader, no problem. Like, you know, just kill him, right? No problem. But if he was, you know, if he wasn't, you know, he wasn't suppressing his emotions because he loved his father. He, you know, put him on a pedestal, and he wanted to help him, to save him. So that's where Luke got it right, you know, with suppressing, you know, emotions, and he made that step and said, you know, Master Yoda, Master Obi-Wan, you know, what you guys have taught me, great stuff, but you know, in a sense, like this is crap. Like this part is crap. I'm not gonna, you know, suppress my emotions and all that other crap. So um, that's where he made the leap, in a sense, what I call it. And that's why I like Return of the Jedi, because Luke's character development in Return of the Jedi is super strong. So some idiots think it was about Bush. I mean, like, maybe like subtle, you know, they take like subtle things from like the politics of the time, but I mean, like, it's definitely, they definitely don't, definitely did not like base these movies around like, oh, you know, primarily base these movies around, you know, current events in politics. I mean, it's just, you know, you'll take themes, you know, from the current time, but he's not like, you know, playing out essentially a different version of what was currently going on. Lucas has straight up stated that the way Palpatine gained emergency powers was the exact same way Hitler gained emergency power over Germany. Yeah, and I mean, like, honestly, I would say they probably take, you know, they definitely take more. George definitely took more of a hint from, you know, from World War II and stuff like that, and Nazi Germany. I mean, like, you even see it in the aesthetics, you know, and the names like Stormtrooper, the Imperial officers, you know, pants. I don't remember what those pants, the pant type, are called, you know, with the boots and everything. You know, very reminiscent of, you know, the military in Nazi Germany. So I think, like, you know, I think that honestly he probably took more from that time period than he did from the late 90s and early 2000s, you know, for movie stuff. So Return of the Jedi is underrated. You are correct, Joey. You are correct on that one. Return of the Jedi is underrated. I mean, like, honestly, I think a lot of the same people that don't like Return of the Jedi are the same people that don't like the prequels, because it's, you know, it's cutesy because there's Ewoks and Ewoks took down the Empire. No, that's not how it should be. Blah, blah, blah. It's because what the people want is they want some like grand old battle that's just like, you know, tireless, fight to the death, hours long, you know, bloody, blah, 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 you know, satisfy their action, you know, their action appetite or whatever. You know, but George is not going to give us, you know, what we want, you know, or like what we think we want type of thing. So I liked Ewoks taking down the Empire. It was different. It was new. It was creative. I think it was a creative way to go about defeating the Empire. And the other thing too is, like, so people are like, oh, they defeated the Empire, and they didn't actually defeat the Empire. They just beat the Empire on their forest moon. I mean, that was a tiny force of people. Of course, that wasn't everybody. And I mean, basically all it did was allow them to take down the Death Star 2's shield and allow the rebels to go in and blow it up. So, I mean, you know, it was obviously a huge service, but, you know, it wasn't like they completely just crushed the Empire, you know, single-handedly. Jeez, man. Stormies use MG-34's Hitler's buzzsaw. Oh, I didn't know that. To the Empire was the last great Star Wars movie until The Force Awakens. Well, and, like, especially at, you know, I talk about this all the time, like, pre-Force Awakens Star Wars canon, you know, was like, it was very, well, obviously it was very hush-hush, you know. They weren't talking many details about the movies, but I remember that the big part of that was all the, like, we're doing, you know, practical effects, you know, we're going back to the way things were, you know, blah, blah, blah. And again, a lot of that was to appease those people. So, and, you know, I don't know. I think it was a load of BS. So, like I said, you go and watch the Rogue One, which is excellent, and Last Jedi, and even Solo, and you'll see way more references to the prequel trilogy in there. I mean, they're basically sprinkling stuff in, you know, in these movies. And like now in 2019, I'd say we probably have the most prequel related canon content coming out in a single year, like media wise. You know, I mean, I already did the video on that, but we got like 2 main novels that both take place in the prequel trilogy or prior to, which is awesome. We have the whole line of comics, Age of Republic comics. We have the Clone Wars returning. You know, there's a lot of great prequel stuff coming out this year, which is why I wanted to do that video in the first place. Ewoks were miniature Wookiees. What's up, Dale? Yes, I'm pretty sure I heard that George wanted to use Wookiees. I don't remember what the problem was. I think it was like costume related or something like that. Like they couldn't afford to make a bunch of different Wookiee costumes, so they used Ewoks and just made small, you know, little fuzzy teddy bears. Empire isn't even as dark as everyone says. It's not. I mean, like it's just. I mean, it's not like the movie obviously doesn't end great, but it still ends kind of like, you know, well, like there's hope, you know. It doesn't end on the sad, sour note. It's just kind of like, you know, yeah, we took a major blow, but, you know, we're not defeated type of thing. You know, it's not like the characters were in a really dark place at the end of the movie. You know, literally by the end of Empire, like all of the characters that were, you know, still around, those Luke, Leia, Lando, Chewie, they already had their plan in place to go and rescue Han Solo. You know, they were fine. They weren't like, you know, in some deep struggle, split apart, you know, we're finished, we're done. No, Empire was not a dark movie. It was darker than like other movies like A New Hope, but it definitely wasn't like bad or like really just, you know, sad ending or whatever. Honestly, I would say probably the darkest movie of all the Star Wars movies that are out currently is either Last Jedi. Probably not Last Jedi. I would say Rogue One over Last Jedi. Rogue One is definitely, I think, the darkest Star Wars movie. So, but even then, it's not that dark. Funny enough, stormtroopers originally were actually Hitler's elite soldiers, but the name became famous when Lucas used it. Yeah, I mean he borrowed a lot of stuff from Nazi Germany. So they're supposed to be Wookiees, not man-eating teddy bears. Yeah, so I like the idea of them being like man-eating. So it's kind of like they're cute, but they're not really that cute, you know. Solo was goldmine for references. LOL, Zam Wessel, Aura Singh, Felucia, etc. It was awesome. Yeah, and it's like, and this is why, like, you know, if they stop, they're gonna stop making the trilogy films soon. I mean, they better, because I mean we're wrapping things up anyways. I don't know where they're gonna go with that if they kept going. But I love, you know, as you know, I know a lot of people don't like the trilogy movies, but like the standalone movies, I think are excellent, and I want to see more of those. I want to see. I mean, I don't know what I would want next. You know, maybe Obi-Wan movie, of course. That's probably what everyone's saying. But I thought the standalones were really good. Rogue One and Solo were both very interesting. And I think the best part about it is that as a Star Wars fan, the more that the more you spend time with it, the more kind of ingrained you are in the fandom. You know, the more you get out of it, right? So like, if you're a casual fan, you know, I think it was Lando who mentioned Felucia or whatever. You know, you're just kind of like, whatever. It's just some, you know, Star Wars planet or whatever. But, you know, if you're like a Star Wars enthusiast and like you understand stuff, like you've watched Clone Wars or whatever, or like you've read about, you know, characters and places in the movies and stuff like that, you'll be like, oh yeah, it's Felucia. That was that one planet from the end of Revenge of the Sith where Aayla Secura was killed in Order 66. Oh, that's cool. It's just, you know, like connecting everything together, just some connective tissue, you know? So yeah, I appreciated that. And like the Aura Singh thing was funny. They need to explain that. Like that needs to be a comic or a book, but preferably comic, because I want to actually see her get pushed. Costumes, yeah. Thank you, Dale. Yeah, that's why I thought it was costume related, or well, resource related. Ewok is a propmanteau. I've never heard of that word. Propmanteau of Wookiee. George Lucas wanted a primitive society to take down a technological one. Yeah, I mean that's the whole thing. Like it's symbolic. And again, the Ewoks did not defeat the Empire. They did not finish off the remnants of the Galactic Empire. They did not single-handedly eliminate every single stormtrooper and Imperial officer that was out there. All they did was eliminate the task force that was sent down there to stop the rebels from infiltrating the frickin' shield generator. That is it. People need to chillax on that. Like, once and for all. The lack of Wookiees could be costume and CGI related. The reason Lucas started with 4 was because CGI wasn't ready. Midichlorians, battle droids, political scenes were all set since the 70s. Yeah, and I mean, that's the other thing, too. People complain about stuff in the prequels as if it was just kind of like George Lucas was like, yeah, we'll just do this. We'll just put this down and it'll be fine. No, a lot of the ideas he had for the prequels were already in place by the time that he was making, well, call it Star Wars at the time. So, I mean, the Star Wars was a gamble because he didn't think it was going to be successful, but as a good story writer, right, you're gonna write down stuff or ideas about like, hey, like, what would have happened after, what would have happened before the story. So, I mean, essentially A New Hope was the pilot, the pilot episode in the whole thing, of course. So, and it worked. So, Gungans better than Ewoks for me, haha. Gungans, I mean, the Gungan thing is like this kind of the same. I mean, they're definitely more like technologically advanced, but I mean, obviously, I don't think people complain about the Gungans for being cutesy and taking down a droid army. They complain about the Gungans because they hate Jar Jar Binks. And talking about Jar Jar Binks again for like the millionth time, like people are like, oh, Jar Jar's so stupid, but like again, literally watch The Phantom Menace and like look at how every character treats Jar Jar Binks. Freaking Qui-Gon saves his life and basically calls him an idiot, brainless. Literally says like, "Are you brainless?" And then Obi-Wan basically insults him and he's like, "What's this?" He goes to. Oh, yeah, phone call. So actually, I don't know if you guys heard that, but so my phone actually has Duel of Fates as the ringtone. So yeah, he goes to Gunga City, gets basically like he shows up and everyone's just like, get away from me, type of thing. And then he gets taken to the boss, and the boss is like, he shall be punished or whatever. Everyone freaking hates Jar Jar. Like, you don't have to like a character, and you shouldn't like blame somebody for putting in a character that's not likable. Like, that's not. I don't know. It's stupid. Obi-Wan insults everyone. Yeah, that's true, Dale. That's true. I think I like Obi-Wan in The Phantom Menace because he's just kind of like eye rolling, like, oh my gosh, this is BS, man. Like, this is just stupid. So. The art books for The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi reveal that a lot of concepts used in these films actually stemmed from Lucas. Rey, Finn, and a stormtrooper defecting, Luke as a hermit, etc. They did use some of Lucas's drafts for these new films. Yeah, and like, I mean, especially like said with the concept art and stuff like that. I mean, they used a lot of George's idea because I know he had stuff in the works for like a female lead character and things like that. So, which they based Rey off of and whatnot. So. If you pay attention when they enter the city, everyone is panicking because of Jar Jar being back. Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. Like, everyone's like, oh my gosh, look, he's back. Like, no, everyone's like back. Like, you can literally watch the other Gungans just like back away. Like, I don't want to be near him. And then, of course, his, or whatever his name is, Tarples or whatever, runs up and is like, what are you doing here? Jar Jar was a mess to begin with. So why are you hating on people for making a character that's already hated? Huh. The Phantom Menace Kenobi is my favorite version of him. Yeah, he's hilarious. Can you explain a reason why Obi-Wan never mentions Qui-Gon in the OT besides the fact that they were made before the prequel trilogy? Are you talking like related to like Yoda or him saying like, I was trained by Yoda type of thing? Because like, here's my opinion on it. Obi-Wan was basically just like filtering everything he told to Luke. Like, he obviously didn't tell him the truth from the beginning. He was already withholding a bunch of information. So I'm not surprised that he just withheld, information that just maybe wasn't necessarily relevant. Like, what is he going to say? Like, you know, oh, Master Yoda was the Jedi Master who instructed me, but not the first one. I had some other dude who was, killed by this, red devil guy, like 30 years ago, and yada yada yada. He's not gonna explain all that, I mean, he's like, because that's not important to Luke. Like Luke's not gonna care about that. No, so it's just kind of like, I don't think he needed to really mention Qui-Gon in the first place. Does that make sense? The only Lucas concepts they outright ignored were a sunken Death Star ship and a dark side decaying Force Ghost Anakin. I did like the dark side, or I did like the Force Ghost Anakin, although I don't like the fact that they had the concept of him as like kind of going between the light and the dark, because he was redeemed at the end of Return of the Jedi. Yeah. It's like he should be Anakin. He's not Darth Vader. He's not going to go between. He's going to be Anakin no matter who he talks to, whether it's Kylo Ren or it's Rey or Luke or whatever. Still, fingers crossed for Force Ghost Anakin. I mean, maybe that's why he's coming back to Star Wars Celebration. You never know. You never know. Maybe we'll finally get it. Ahmed Best was partly to blame. He gave Jar Jar that dumb accent. Well, the Mr. Pete channel needs 700 subs. If you have a character that's going to be, stupid and goofy, I don't think you're going to give him a really serious voice. I mean, like, I don't think you'd give like the character like a super stoic, voice that's, and then watch him just screw up and be goofy. So Tarpals is the OG. He's my favorite Gungan. He takes on Grievous. Haha. Yes, Tarpals is awesome. So technically you go through 3 masters. Yoda teaches you as a youngling. Sin Dralig, or is it Chin? Sin Dralig teaches you in lightsaber basics, and then you finally get a master to go on missions with. That's also true, KX. Also true. But I mean, like, again, when he also, when Obi-Wan explained it to Luke that he was going to learn from Yoda and that Yoda was his master. I mean, remember, Luke was also like, had just escaped the Wampa cave and was like freezing to death. So I don't think Obi-Wan is necessarily like, okay, story time. We're going to talk about all of the Jedi Masters who I've had, and eventually you're going to arrive at the conclusion that you're going to go to Dagobah and work with one of them. He's not going to lecture Luke on that stuff or give him a side story. Just gonna be like, go learn from Yoda. He, was my instructor. He doesn't need to give him all the details. Along with the character development of the big 3 in the OT. Hayden went to the 2017 celebration, and his autographs outsold everyone else at previous celebrations. I hope he breaks the record again. See, that's the thing. There's so many more of us than we realize, of people who are kind of just passive and not outspoken about it, in a sense. I'm not saying that they need to be outspoken about it, but again, a lot of when you hear Star Wars complaints, you just have to remember that this is a vocal minority of people who are complaining about the prequel trilogy. It's not like, this is half the fan base or whatever. So, I mean, there's, people love the prequels. I mean, we're like, I think literally just because people love it so much, that's why we're getting, a ton of prequel stuff in Star Wars Battlefront 2, the new game. Why we're getting a bunch of prequel trilogy related stuff this year, in terms of books and comics and stuff like that. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that really like the prequels, and they're putting the pressure on Lucasfilm to say, hey, you have this untapped gold mine of content you can explore, in this trilogy, and we love this stuff. So, and people are eating it up, of course. So that's basically, I hope that Hayden breaks the records again. So, also, he hadn't been to Star Wars Celebration in like 10 years or something like that. I think it's possible Anakin was split in a sense, like the spirit of Darth Vader exists in Vader's helmet, so it can guide Ben on his hero's journey. That's totally possible. Like, Mommin. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I mean, if it like sticks around, or like in a sense that it's not him, but it's just like takes on his form, I guess. So I mean, that that could work. I would much rather see Ghost Anakin, and that's it. Like, no Ghost Vader Anakin crossover thing, jig, whatever, mishmash. Nico from Resistance is dumb and foolish, but at least he's understandable. Yeah, I mean, Nico's a good character too to like compare to Jar Jar in a sense. He's just like very technical and literal. So to me, he's kind of like Drax, but just like kind of different. Like he's different than Drax. He's just kind of obnoxious in a sense. So, but he's very similar to Jar Jar. I mean, he's different too, but he's similar. He's annoying, and the other characters find him annoying too. The prequel saved Battlefront. Haha, the Geonosis update got more views and likes than Battlefront 2's reveal trailer. I actually didn't know that. I haven't played Geonosis yet. Like, I can't seem to get on the map for some reason. I got to play more Battlefront 2. So, by the way, if you guys play Battlefront 2 on PC, please let me know, because I want to play with some folks. They have Pete fooled, of course. Essence. Miguel Lopez. Hello, sir, from Australia. Hello, Miguel. Welcome to the live stream. I say it's probably tomorrow. It's probably March 27th for you guys there. It's like 8:51 p.m. here in the United States, but welcome to the live stream. Oh, at Dale Erdman, are you some Kylo fanboy? Question mark. I don't think Kylo's ever really gone bad. What he does is viewed as bad, but it all has a purpose behind it. You know, Dale, I mean, it's a good point. Honestly, like when I watched The Last Jedi for the first time, I really thought that he was going to go and turn back to the light side. Like I was kind of scared of it. I didn't want him to go back. I wanted him to stay, which I'm glad that he did. But I didn't know what he was going to do. Like I fell for it. I was like, oh man, he might actually go be a good guy. But then of course, who's going to be the bad guy, right? You know, is Hawks going to be the bad guy? No, he's not going to be the bad guy. So, you know, spoiler alert, Snoke was already dead at this point. So I'm really curious to see what they're going to do with Kylo in Episode 9 in terms of where they go with him. So today they released the new game mode for Battlefront. Oh, yeah, that's right. They have that new one. And they have like the commando droids and stuff. I'll take a look at that. Thanks, sir. It is the 27th at 11:51 a.m. right now. Oh, boy. Yeah, you guys are like way more. You're 12. You know, you're 15 hours ahead of me. That's crazy. So very cool. But yeah, welcome again to live stream, Miguel. You got these every Tuesday at this time, so we're only going to be on for another 7 minutes. But come to the next one too, and you know, we can get some of your questions answered. Oh, WTF? He killed his father. Yeah, I mean, like Kylo killing his father was him essentially like putting his like, yes, I'm committed to being a dark side and an evil person. So I think that's why he couldn't go back. He couldn't. I don't think he could really go back and, you know, redeem himself. I especially don't think he can do it now. I think he's done. Like he can't. I really don't think he can be redeemed, but I really don't see that this movie ends with Rey killing Kylo Ren and that being the end of it. I don't see that being the case. So I don't know what they're going to do. That's why I'm really curious. He killed Han. He killed Luke from a certain point of view. He's gone. He's gone. Of course, as I said, it all has a purpose behind it. He was supposed to kill someone close to him in order to gain Snoke's trust. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of comments blown up. Disney/Lucasfilm is playing it safe, but I feel the best way to end 9 is to have Rey realize how powerful she is, turn evil, and take over the First Order. Woo, that would be controversial, KX. You gotta watch out there. I think some people would not be happy with that. Force Ghost Anakin then guides Kylo to the light, where he turns Rey back to the light, and at this point, they need to own up to Rey's OPness. Yeah, that would be actually interesting. It would be interesting to see like Rey go to the dark side, and then have Kylo go to the light side, and like them switch places, and then have Anakin come into the mix, and then bring Rey back to the. That would actually, I think that would kind of work, but that's interesting. Ooh, he killed Han because he wanted to. Mr. Pete Channel, I would actually argue that he killed Han because he needed to. I think it was Snoke was basically like, you need to show me in The Force Awakens. Snoke was like, you need to show me that you are committed to the dark side, because that's what he was saying. He's like, you know, there's still, you know, I can still sense there's some light in you. And, you know, so he was like, you basically have to kill your father in a sense. And then you will, you know, actually show to me that you're committed. So, and then in the Last Jedi, when he first shows up to go talk with Snoke after this, you know, he basically like Snoke's basically like, you know, you're like, you know, the deed split you to the bone. That's what he says. Like he's like, you know, you did it, but like you're not, you weren't really committed to it, and now it's tearing you apart, type of thing. So, oh boy, okay, I'm lost. I got to go back up. KX, I think that's exactly what happens. We have a better chance of finding life on Venus than Ray turning to the dark. That's okay. We'll see. He didn't hate his father. He didn't love him either. Technically, Han died because Ford only agreed to be in The Force Awakens. If he was paid 3 times as much as the second highest paid actor, he was killed off and there were no teddy bears, as he stated. I mean, they got to work into this story somehow. So the only purpose he killed Han was to gain Snoke's trust. That's the point, Dale. He needed to show Snoke that he was committed to this path, that he wasn't, split on the light and the dark, that he was committed to the dark side. If Ford was down for it, I think Lucasfilm would have kept him alive. I mean, I think so. Probably. They probably would have worked it in. So, but I kind of like what they've done with Han. The biggest thing that surprised me with The Last Jedi with Han Solo was how much he was mentioned in it, and how they made his death such a big deal to Kylo Ren. But also like to Leia and Luke as well, and like saying like, Luke was like, he's gonna haunt you forever. Like, the deed split you to the bone, like Snoke said, and it's, that's not ever gonna get fixed, type of thing. What do you think when people call Padme a weak character? I think that they're misinformed and probably, possibly misogynist. But I think it's very obvious that Padme is not a weak character. She goes total badass in the Geonosian execution arena. I mean, come on. She literally like took up like the reins and like had a gun and was fighting on the front lines, fell out of a freaking gunship. Like, come on. Like, this girl was not weak. Like, that is BS. That's BS. And you have to be completely blind and stupid to say otherwise. Ugh. I've actually been seeing a lot of love for Padme as of late, which is awesome. That's, I think, a big part of the reason why we have a lot of prequel stuff was because people were, we had the stuff that we had prior to this year. A lot of people complained that Padme was missing from a lot of that. Like, she wasn't around all that much, in that content. So like, last year we got Thrawn Alliances, which features Padme pretty heavily. Of course, we have Queen Shadow that just came out recently. So I think they're really starting to put a lot more emphasis on Padme as a character. And I think that's because, she is a really important character to the saga and is very much underappreciated in terms of her impact. So, and that's why, again, I wish they would have kept the Spark of the Rebellion deleted scene or whatever in Revenge of the Sith that we were talking about earlier. At KX, too bad Natalie Portman has no love for the character. We'll never see her at a celebration. I don't know what's going on with Natalie about Star Wars and stuff like that. I don't think she's completely shied away from it though. I don't know. I don't follow Natalie Portman as much. So each Age of Republic has a behind the scenes page dedicated to it, talking about what character was featured. Padme issue has the author talking a lot about how the PT generation has grown up. I need to read this stuff. I gotta read it. So, it's 8:59. Ooh, I think we're gonna have to wrap this one up here, y'all. So, and now how they now love Padme. Haha. Well, I'm definitely gonna have to read it. So, alrighty, y'all. Thank you for joining on the live stream wherever you are, whether you are in Australia or you are in the United Kingdom or you are in China or Russia or Japan or South Africa or Egypt, wherever you are. Have a great rest of your day, night, morning, evening, whatever it is. And stay tuned for a video at the end of this week. And we'll see you all next Tuesday, Wednesday morning, whatever time it is for you. It'll be Tuesdays, always 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the United States. So with that, have a great rest of your week, and may the Force be with you always. Say goodbye to everyone. Bye, Joey. Bye, KX. Thank you for coming. Bye, the Mr. Pete's channel. Need 700 subs. May the Force be with you. Dale Erdman, as always. All right. Later, y'all.